Hello, and welcome to this month's Single Scoop. My name is Min, and I'm here all alone today. So I would like to invite you all to Min's Music Corner, Volume 2, a space where I get to gush about songs that I enjoy. As always, I am a very casual fan, so this will not be a deep dive into the artists, more like the flavor notes of songs that I've been enjoying lately. And maybe you'll find some new tracks to add to your playlist. There is an accompanying playlist on both YouTube and Spotify if you want to listen along as you go. And all the artists and tracks are also individually linked in the episode description, so you can easily find them for yourself and go give them a listen. To be super honest, I've been struggling a bit with this episode because I've been very depressed and burnt out. So that might color the song choices a little bit. But I also don't really like ballads, so let's see what happens. I want to start off this episode with a song that almost made it into the last episode, and that would be Wooki's Paralyzed, off of Anti-Birth, released in 2025. Anti-Birth is his first full-length album, with Picture acting as the pre-release single. Released under Code Chameleon, I think it's possibly self-published. The album is very moody, yet mellow, and very R&B influenced. Starting off with Epilogue, bringing in the return of the Fiction by Beast writing on paper sound effect. I cannot unhear it. I heard it first in the Beast song, and it's just been stuck in my head as the Fiction sample ever since, even though they probably did not use it first. And so many people have used it since. Epilogue is a very moody and very captivating beginning to the album, followed by Lovesick, which is a very smooth duet with Once. There are a couple of features on this album, and none of them feel forced or unnecessary, and they blend the vibes of each artist beautifully. You can really tell that Wooki has been working with making music for a long time, seeing as this album is almost completely self-arranged and composed. And he seems to have a SoundCloud that is nearly a decade old with a lot of different music on it. Paralyzed, the title track, is the most danceable track, starting off with a strong bass line. His vocals are muted in an addictive sense. Just enough to keep you on your toes, but languid enough to keep the moody vibe of the song going. It's like you're dancing in the dark, with the only light cutting through being white strobe lights, and a mist following your every move. Another track that I really love off of this album is Mirror, which features I Am of Monsta X. It's also another very moody track, and I really like how the snaps at the beginning almost sounds like a ticking clock, and I just really like it. It's a cool track. The full album is a rather mellow experience, so if you like R&B, I would highly suggest listening to the entire thing. Another vibey track comes to us by Silky's Aura, off of the single album Silky Smooth 04, released in December 2025. Aura is a very danceable track. It makes you feel like you're dancing on a pink cloud. The vocals are very soft, making the track feel very dreamlike. It's a song you can easily get lost in, and you wouldn't be mad about it. The second track on Silky Smooth 04 is Kryptonite. It has a bit more of a groove to it and pairs really well with Aura. It is a super addictive release. If you like chill but danceable music, I highly recommend this single album. As well as our newest single Soul, which is a bit less dreamy, but has more funk to it, and is definitely worth a listen. Silky is a producer and DJ to keep your eye on if you're interested in electronic music. While looking for songs for this episode, I stumbled across Dori's Sofie, off of the album Sofie. Not to be confused with Dori the rapper, whose music I've yet to listen to, but he seems to be spelling his name in all lowercase letters. But Dori, the singer-songwriter I'm going to be talking about now, spells it in all uppercase letters. And the Hangul is the same for both of them. Dori seems to have been releasing music since 2022, and released her first EP, Sofie, in October 2025. The title track, Sofie, is an upbeat, but still quite melancholic song, which to me is about growing up, changing, and looking back on who you used to be, and the you used to be is still inside of you, but it's distant memories now, and the things that used to hurt so bad is slowly fading away. But life is still moving on. The sun is still rising, and all will be fine. Even if silly things are still a little difficult, you're getting there. I really love the arrangements of this song. The guitar feels nostalgic and almost dreamlike. Other notable tracks on this EP includes Pigeon, which has a more whimsy sound, and honestly you can never go wrong with a song called Pigeon, TBH. and Cherry Coke, which is one of the pre-release singles for the EP, along with Crosswalk. Cherry Coke has a more pop feel than the rest of the EP. This episode quite literally almost became the Girls with the Guitars episode. So you'll see a couple of them, like with Crystal T's Humanity Declaration, released in February of 2026. This song feels like walking through a heavy mist, trying to wake up from sleep, but being pulled back down into the depths. To me, it touches heavily on what it is to be alive, and the shame of not really knowing, and not being able to live fully, not being able to remember the past. It's all a blur. And maybe that is for the best. The past can be haunting. Nightmares follow your every step. Might living in a constant fog be better? This single was released not too long ago as of the recording of this episode, so I'm not sure if this is a one-off single or a lead-up to a later coming album. I really hope it is, because I really enjoy Crystal T's vocals and her writing style. The arrangement of the single with the bells and the organs and the almost chaotic breakdown towards the end is incredibly cathartic and beautiful to me, so seeing how this track would work in an album setting would be very interesting. Unrelated to the music itself, I also really love the styling of the music video, going from romantic goth to scene queen to Victorian-inspired churchgoer. I love it all. It's a great music video. And I'm very excited to see what Crystal T releases next. When I sit down to write these episodes, I try my best to go for recent releases by the artist I'm talking about. But for the next one, we're going way back to the Midnight Romance's Nightmare, released in 2020. We're not going back to this release because their newer songs aren't as good. It's quite the contrary, to be honest. We're going back to Nightmare because I've been listening to it a lot lately. Nightmare is wonderfully 80s. You might even say disgustingly 80s, with its atmospheric synths, longing vocals, and dramatic flair. It's a very danceable track that keeps building with an almost anxious tension. It's spooky and theatrical, and honestly I could see this track being used for a Phantom of the Opera MV. I really love the styling for this music video. Subtle gothic clothes with long hair, gloves, dramatic makeup, and a fog machine. It really does a lot to sell the 80s nostalgia here. And we also need more guitar in the music scene. It is a lost art. It might be a little tacky, but guitars are great. And more overly theatrical bands. I feel like a lot of bands have lost their theatric nature. And sometimes you just really want to be twirling around to an 80s theme song with longing vocals. It's great. The band took a hiatus from releasing music in 2021 and did make a comeback in 2025. Out of the singles they've released so far, a standout to me would be Blind, which is very jazz influenced, so it's extremely smooth and uses many different instruments. The acoustic guitar is captivating. When the soprano saxophone hits, you know you're in for something very special, and the interlude with the double bass line is stunning, beautiful, peak. And yes, I did add it to the playlist because it is a great time. Fight me, I can do what I want. The Midnight Romance is a band that can capture many different musical styles and many different instruments and make it all work beautifully. They're not afraid to be a bit camp, and anyone who can truly commit to a bit is worth supporting. It's always such a treat when they release new music. I really hope they get to release a new album. That would be great. Let's get back to something a bit more chill with Heegyu's Defense Mechanism, released in February of 2026. Defense Mechanism is a dreamy, melancholic, yet somewhat upbeat track. It starts off rather bare with just Heegyu's calm vocals and a guitar, and the song keeps building on this wonderful atmosphere. I really love the guitar solo-ish and the layered vocals towards the end. It makes the experience incredibly dreamy. It envelops you like a soft embrace. It is a hopeful song in its own strange way. To me, it's about looking forward from a not great past and choosing love to be the future. A lot of things can happen during your life, and the only thing you can control is your own outlook on what the future will bring. And it's so incredibly hard to keep a bright outlook, but it is such an important choice to make every day. Now, let's do a final throwback with DPR IAN's Nerves, off of Mood Swings in Disorder, released in March of 2021. As I've stated a couple of times during this podcast's run, I really enjoy DPR IAN's music, and I've been lucky enough to see him and the other DPR artists live. So whenever I'm in a bad place, I seem to fall back to the full mood swings in this sort of album. And all of his albums have a crying to potential, but this one is the one that hits the hardest for me personally. I could easily just talk about this album alone, but let's save that for another day. So we're focusing on only one song, and that is Nerves, which to me is an ode to a lost lover. A lover you couldn't be there for, a lover who deserves so much more than you can give them. You were far too deep into your own mess to see how badly you let that lover down. And by leaving them alone, they really didn't deserve that, and now they have moved on. And you're left with the guilt of the love that could have been, but will never be. And you're trying to convince yourself, I'm doing fine. Even if your nerves are eating you alive when you see them moving on, and you have to face yourself, alone. The song is like an echoing dream, hopeful yet distant, broken but keeps on going. I've been very emo to that whole album, okay? Let me live. Before we round out the episode, I do want to mention some of the artists that I talked about last time, since most of them have released new music since then, but I'm only going to go over a few songs that stood out to me and that could have possibly made it into this episode. That does not mean that the songs that I'm not talking about are bad. It's just that I haven't been listening to them as much. And we're trying to go off of music that I have been listening to. But most of them are really good, and I need to listen to them more, honestly. So first off, we have The Deep finally dropped their first album, K-Pop Beach, which was everything I dreamed of. I wish I could get a physical copy, it's just that good. It keeps on with the upbeat, EDM, almost scene kind of music. Some of the standout songs to me are, among others, Wrong Number and Lucky Star. And this album also has a couple of interesting credits on it. I know that both Dori and Electra, whom I truly adore, and Frost Children, among others, worked on it, which is very cool. Love that for her. I really wish I could go see The Deep live. Another standout would be Silica Gel's single Big Void, which I know that the Silica Gel song that I talked about last time was pretty old at the time, so they have released a lot since then, but Big Void to me has a great solo and breakdown towards the end, and the song is absolutely mesmerizing, and the piano is so incredibly crisp in the song. It's another one that you can just get fully lost in, so if you're into rock, definitely check out Big Void. And then Gabby On Me dipped their toes in a more rock-like song with the ballad Hearts Racing. I'm not a ballads person, but it was really interesting hearing them in this kind of setting. And I love that they're very experimental with what they do and try many different things. So I'm excited to see what more they make. But I think that's where we're gonna end it this time. That was all for this month's episode. I really hope you'll tune in next month for the next issue of Single Scoops. If you liked this episode or enjoyed any of the songs, or have song recommendations for me, please leave us a comment. And maybe I'll get around to do a third one. Who knows? We'd really appreciate it if you shared this episode with a friend or followed our show on any podcast platform or any of our social medias at K-Pop Sundae. Thank you for listening. Goodbye!